Welcome back to the Bourbon Note. Back at it with another bourbon hunting video. Been a few weeks since I posted one of these because I really haven't been out bourbon hunting. And there's a reason for that I'll get to towards the end of the video when we do the bottle haul, which is going to be a little bit different this time. And again, I'll get to that at the end of the video. But let's check out the first stop. I was in Western St. Paul, not to be confused with West St. Paul, which is an actual city. It's directly south of St. Paul, true story. But Western St. Paul, Minnesota. First stop is Midway Liquors. So fairly small selection here, but definitely some good bottles. About $59 for the Old Forester there. $95.99 for Booker's. I think that was a 2022 batch. That's a pretty average price for around here, so nice to see that on the shelf. I kind of spot a Henry McKenna up there. We'll get to that in a second. So yeah, they've got some kind of basic stuff, but then look at this. Larceny Barrel Proof for $56.99. That's incredible. So I can totally see why that one is empty. I would have picked one of those up immediately, even if I already had the batch, because you just can't beat that price. Henry McKenna for the $60. That's about average around here. But I'm starting to see those a little more often. I think people are, just kind of either getting used to them or maybe the price is getting a little high for, what people are willing to spend on that. I think it's a great bottle, but got the Wild Turkey products here. Kentucky Spirit, I've mentioned this before. I don't know if I can bring myself to spend double the money on essentially just a single barrel 101. I've had it before. It's good. I don't know if it's double the price good, but I've heard conflicting opinions about that. So let me know in the comments what you think. Keeper's Heart is a local one. Knob Creek 12, nice to see that on the shelf. That's pretty common here in Minnesota, but I did learn after our video that in a lot of places that one's actually not available. And standard prices on those as well. I like it when you see independent stores that have good prices. Speaking of good prices, Mellow Corn for $15.99. Bam. Can't beat it. So not a massive selection there, but they really had some pretty good, kind of, I wouldn't say hidden gems, but because they were right on the shelf. But I mean, that Larceny Barrel Proof for the $57 or whatever it was. The Henry McKenna, like I said, I'm kind of seeing those sitting around a little bit more. I think people are kind of tired of the, getting up over $60 for those. And then the Booker's, which, again, was at a fairly normal price. But they had a decent selection. For the size of that selection, they certainly had a good quality selection, in my opinion. They kind of had all the basics, but yeah, a couple of decent bottles at really good prices, actually. So the next one we're stopping at is one that I've been told about for a long time by friends that you just got to stop at the store. Finally made it over there. This is Marshall Liquors. So this store was awesome. Got 4 bottles of Booker's right here for the $95. I think this is a 2023. I didn't really get close. Maybe you can see it on the screen there. $56.99 for a Maker's Mark store pick. That's insane because those run usually around $70 minimum. Wilderness Trail cask strength store pick. Don't really see those around Minnesota much. B523 Elijah Craig for $70. That's awesome. They also had their own private barrel for $75, which is around an average price for those. That was a 10-year one. I'm not sure if that Penelope Toasted was a store pick. It might have been. Got the Knob Creek store pick for $56.99. And it looks like they've also got the Heaven's Door for the $56.99 as well, which is awesome. Got a barrel store pick there as well. And then coming over to the actual kind of regular bourbon selection here. This place had a nice selection. They had some great prices. The Old Elk Cigar Cut. I haven't pulled the trigger on this one yet. I've never had it. $130 here, which is actually a really good price. Everywhere I've seen it, it's been higher than that. But I don't know. That one just doesn't intrigue me quite as much. And I'm not really sure why. But it's not one that I've really gone out of my way to try to pick up. Had some barrel products here. An awesome price on the Old Forester stuff. I think they're selling this even cheaper than Total Wine is. At the $57.99. I think Total Wine's even up to $60 for that. Maker's Mark cask strength for $55. That's crazy because Costco is selling that for $65. And I don't think I've seen it for less than $65 anywhere. So that's an amazing price on that. Small Batch Select right there is about $5 cheaper than we usually see it. That one's usually $60. So it kind of seems like with this store, their prices tend to run a little bit lower than most places, which is fantastic because they've got a great selection. $60 for some Russell single barrel. Don't see those as much around anymore, but they're starting to show back up. $57 for the Henry McKenna, kind of getting back into a little more fair price for that as far as I'm concerned. I think around the 50 price point, that's definitely worth it. Again, with the Kentucky Spirit, rare breed, $49. That's around average for around here. Those have definitely gone up in price. I kind of focus on those in most of my bourbon hunting videos because they're usually around. I know not every place gets them, but the Copper Craft there, let me know in the comments if you guys know anything about that bottle. I'm unfamiliar with it, and I just recently saw it somewhere, and I can't for the life of me remember where or what the context it was in, but I feel like it's made by another distillery that I'm familiar with, but I can't think of who that is on the top of my head here. So if you know who makes that, let me know. Rare breed for $63.99. That's going for $72 at a lot of places, so that's a good price on that. And then we got some stuff in the cage over here. These Stellum blends like the Equinox, Fibonacci, and Lone Cypress. I haven't had any of those. I'm interested in them because I do like Stellum products. I think they're really good. I can't say enough good things about this store. They were nice enough to let me film. I did ask for permission. And yeah, some of those prices were insane. I mean, they had prices there that, like I said in the narration, are cheaper than Costco prices on some of those bottles. Most of them ran even a few bucks cheaper than Total Wine. It kind of seemed like the whole selection kind of ran a few dollars less than at least most stores that I go to and see. Super interested in that Wilderness Trail cask strength. I'm a fan of Wilderness Trail. I know I've heard mixed reviews from some other people, but I really like it actually, the stuff that we've had, but we've only had a couple. And so we usually only get just the wheated bottled and bond, the regular bottled and bond, and then the rye. So some of those like 8-year and 6-year ones don't really make it to Minnesota. So to have a single barrel looks pretty cool. Also always interested in a Elijah Craig private barrel. So yeah, can't recommend that store enough if you're in the area. Even just if you want to get some basic stuff, their prices are just fantastic. So total recommend on that. All right, next stop was just a little ways down the road, and this is a smaller liquor store called Thomas Liquors. So this place had a pretty small selection, but again, a good selection. You saw some Bookers up there. We'll check that out in a second. But they had a great selection of Elijah Craig stuff. $79.99 for the barrel proof. That's an average price. They had their own 8-year store pick. So those are normal prices for those. $60 for the toasted barrel. That's about average. I'm not a big fan of that one, but so I don't usually go out of my way to pick that up when I see it. There's that new Peerless. That's a high rye one. And then there's Booker's for $99. So that's about, the going rate around here for that as well. 3 stores in a row with the Bookers. So apparently, if you want to get a hold of some Bookers, you got to head over to Western St. Paul. Old Grandad 114 for $30. That's awesome. If you haven't had Old Grandad 114 and you like that sort of a proof point, for the price point on that one, I think it's awesome. $65 for Makers, 46 cask strength. That's a totally average price around here. Totally fair price. Not as good as the previous store, obviously, but definitely not overcharging for that one. So this is pretty much the whole bourbon selection. More of a wine-forward store. But again, they've got some good stuff. And they've got Mellow Corn for $15.99. So, right there, I respect their game. Got some Penelope stuff up here. Another one of these Doc Swinson's exploratory casks. I'd like to buy some more of that because I've only had the one of them, but it was really good. So another one with not the biggest selection, but certainly they made up for it in quality versus quantity. Great selection of Elijah Craig products, if that's your jam, which for me it is. Not super into the toasted barrel, but they just seem to have a decent selection. Some of their prices were a little higher than the last one, but their prices were a little bit at that kind of normal range. So don't hold it against them just because they were a couple bucks more than the previous one. It's just because the previous store was definitely on the lower side on prices. But yeah, you know, a little bit of a small selection, but you know, the private barrel pick of Elijah Craig, like I said before, super interested in that as always. The Bookers, I don't know. I mean, that's one of those ones, they used to be $75 around here, and you used to go into a store and you'd find, you know, like the last 4 or 5 batches. I mean, they just had tons of them on the shelf. And then maybe like a year and a half ago, overnight, they just all sold out, and then the price went up to $100. So I don't know. I don't have any Bookers. It's not one that I jump to. I've had a couple of them. They're really good. But it's kind of one of those ones where I'm just, you know, for the 6.5 year, I get it, ages and everything, but, you know, they do some blending with them. They pick their sweet spot barrels. But for the $100 price point, I don't know, maybe ditch the wooden box, quit with the fancy packaging and sell them for $70, you know, and then I'd be a little more interested in picking up one of those bottles. So anyway, let's get to the bottle haul. And the reason I said at the beginning that this bottle haul is a little bit different is because when I went to all 3 of these stores, I wasn't actually looking to buy any bourbon at all because I had been so irresponsible with the bourbon budget the few weeks prior to that. The bourbon budget was tapped. I really was at a point where it's like, okay, I got to pull back here. But I did buy some other stuff at those stores because I did need some other stuff for the house, beer and champagne, stuff like that. Did pick up one bottle, though, from Marshall Liquors at the price point, bam, the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. Picked this up for a friend. You just can't go wrong at that price. And so that's a tough one to leave on the shelf. So yeah, picked up one of these. But the rest of these bottles, it's actually a bottle haul from the previous 4 weeks when I went a little bit out of control. And the reason I didn't film any bourbon hunting content for these bottles is because I didn't go bourbon hunting for any of them, which is kind of weird. One of them I won in a lottery. And so I had to wait until I could get up to the store and pick it up. 2 of them I ordered online and then kind of forgot that I had ordered them while I was waiting for them and went out and bought some more stuff. And then my sister went on vacation to Indiana and I sent down a list of a couple bottles I was looking for that they don't sell in Minnesota. And luckily and unluckily, she found all 3, so picked up all 3 of those. So let's get into the bottle haul here. First off, these are the ones I ordered. Bam, this is from this is Starlight, Storytime Distillery. Bam, also from Storytime Distillery. This one is Starlight Distillery. It's a port finished bourbon called the Port Night. And this is from Conviction. It says 2023 Invitational Pick. And this is in conjunction, or I think the pick was done by those bourbon guys. So go check out their channel. They have a fantastic channel. So ordered these. And then, like I said, I kind of forgot that I had ordered them, and then I sent my list with my sister to Indiana of bottles that I was looking for that they don't sell here in Minnesota. Picked up all 3 of them. They're pretty budget friendly, but again, this stuff kind of adds up. So the first one, bam, Benchmark Full Proof. I just put this on one of my lists for a good summer bourbon to drink on the rocks. I like it because it's higher proof, lower price if you're going to throw it on the rocks. If you watch this channel, bam, regularly, you'll know Early Times Bottle & Bond is one of my absolute favorite bourbons in the world. The Brown-Forman stuff has been discontinued, and it's now going to be Sazerac. This happens to be one of the ones bottled by Sazerac, and I have not had this yet, neither has Greg. So we're looking forward to doing a comparison. But this is still Brown-Forman juice, just from what I understand, blended by Sazerac. So eventually these are going to go away, and it's probably going to be Sazerac distilling it, I'm assuming. So, you know, we'll see what happens with that. But super excited to get into this one because I haven't had Sazerac's blend of this yet. And just in case it's trash, from what I hear, is a great replacement bottle for that. Bam, Cooper's Craft 100. Excited to have one of these because when we recently did a video on which bottles could replace Early Times Bottle & Bond, we compared it to Old Forester 100, Old Forester Statesman, and what else? Something else. We did it in a blind. I can't even remember now. What the hell was that? Well, you'd think I'd be able to figure this out since this is one of my favorite bourbons. We were trying to figure out a replacement for it. It was something in the same sort of vein as this, you know, that Brown-Forman 100 proof. And so everybody was saying we should have done Cooper's Craft 100, and I totally agree because I have had this before, and it is in the same definite flavor profile as this, but the reason we didn't have that is because, unfortunately, it's not available in Minnesota. But we do have it now, and so, oh, I think it's Old Forester Bottled in Bond. So Old Forester Bottled in Bond 100, and then the Statesman. I think that's what it was. So super happy to try this, and I am going to do a comparison video between the Cooper's Craft and the Early Times. And then the one that I got in the lottery and kind of forgot about because I won it in the Spirits Liquor lottery, and that's about an hour away from here, so it was going to be a couple weeks before I had time to actually run up there and pick up the bottle, and kind of forgot about it in the meantime and ended up buying a bunch of stuff. So I did win the chance to purchase, bam, Jack Daniel's 10-year. Excited about this. We've done a review of this already. Greg has this bottle and the 12-year. They were both great. So I'm really happy to have this on the shelf. Haven't cracked it open yet, but I'll get around to that one of these nights. And then not here on the bar, I also did pick up just a bottle of Wild Turkey 101 because, you know, you got to have a bottle of Wild Turkey 101. Why wouldn't you, right? So kind of have that on the shelf. It's just kind of a utility bourbon, daily sipper, you know, kind of random pour. So anyway, this is the bottle haul for the last few weeks. I know it's not a ton of bottles, but they, you know, this is a little bit expensive, and this stuff starts to add up. And so, yeah, hadn't really done any hunting because I managed to get all these without doing any bourbon hunting at all. So anyway, we'll get back into the bourbon hunting maybe in a week or two here, try to get to some more stores and try to have those videos coming out on a regular basis again. So hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you on the next one.